Come on in, Tomar. It's time to sit down. Oh, yeah, follow the orders. Sit down. Okay, we got to connect to last time. That was the 13th of last month. Been a couple of days. We finished off with, we finished off with the ark, kind of getting into some of the definition of it. But I'm going to, are we hooked up to the rest of the world? We are. We're ready. Okay. And for you people at home, I don't know if you watched it on the 13th of last month, but after we're done with this lesson, you can pick it up on the internet. You could put in Terry Loomis at Valparaiso, and it'll give the date. And you want to go to 8:13 and click on that. And today's lesson is married to that, because it's a series. And I'm going to explain a few things to the people that may have not been here last week, and you people at home that are just coming online, or you can't remember what happened the last time I spoke. We're talking about the tabernacle. Eventually we'll talk about a temple. Eventually we'll talk about how atonement, the sacrifice of atonement, changes through time. And because a lot of people don't realize that, maybe you don't, but it does. And you're going to learn, I don't know if you know how many temples there are in the Bible, and I don't know if you know how many tabernacles there were in the Bible. There were 2 tabernacles. Well, what do you mean? Well, the one Moses put together, and that was not in really good shape in David's time, so he built a new tabernacle in Jerusalem to put the ark in. Remember, he recovered the ark and brought it to Jerusalem, and he built a tabernacle within Jerusalem on the mount to house that Ark of the Covenant. Isn't that interesting? It's there. I guess I should have brought a Bible verse, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. There's 2 of them there. You can research it on your own. Now, how are we going to study this? Normally, I throw out a ton of Bible verses and give you guys paper. You're going to get paper anyway. It's just not happening right now. And you people at home, if you want paper, come and see me in church, and I'll give you a copy of what's being handed out today, because it's rather important, because it gives you something to connect to and assimilate this message through time in your mind. It's an important message. You understand more about Jesus' crucifixion and how it happened and why it happened the way it happened when you start to study these things. Now, how were we going to study this? This was said last week. I'm not giving you Bible verses because I want you to take yourself and move yourself into the time that we're talking about. And I'm going to try to present that as if you're there with me, seeing these things happen, feeling things, understanding some problems that people have, in understanding what God was doing and everything, and even the feeling of distrust and confusion and how that happened. When we started last week, and we'll sort of review that, we came through the Red Sea last week, and Israel makes it on dry ground, and Egypt's army on muddy ground, because God didn't allow them to have nice dry ground to move on. They were completely drowned. The walls that were up there for Israel just fell on them. And we talked about when Israel was walking through that, it's a fearful thing. Just think about it. You're looking at a wall of water and a wall of water. And of course, you got to have faith that God can hold that back, you think. Okay? But how many people really had faith and were moving in absolute fear? You know, if you got faith, oh, hey, man, let's go. But then there are those people that look a little sheepish. They're afraid. So how strong is their faith? Just think about that. If it's you walking through the Red Sea and you see Noah or Moses way out there, you know, in front, and then he goes up on the other side, and you're in there, and he's up on the other side now. And then after a long period of time, the rest of Israel is on the other side. You know, I made a mistake. I said 1.2 million, somewhere around in there. It was actually 2.5 million plus people that were moving out of Egypt at that time. That's a lot of people. Even 1.2 million, that's a lot of people. I forgot to add in the kids and the wives and stuff. You know, I'm sort of a guy, and I just happen to think that way when I shouted the number out. And I'm sorry about that. So they finally get to the other side, and here you are looking, the people they could see, because there's people like maybe 50 rows deep looking at the Red Sea. There's Egypt, where you just came through, wallowing in the bottom of a murky sea, because it's not dry ground. And God says, okay, it's time for the wall of water to come in, and Egypt drowns. The mighty army of Egypt and its Pharaoh no longer exists. Now, put that into your mind. Oh, that's quite miraculous. And some people think, our God is great. Look, he has brought us through. So some people look at the miracle as miraculous, and some people look at it as God saved us. You notice the difference? There is a difference. One is a worldly view of miracles, and the other one is a godly view of miracles. So you're standing there. What is your state of mind? That's a word I used a lot last week, or last on the 13th. What is your state of mind? Because your relationship with God is not actions. It's your state of mind that causes actions. Where is it centered? Is it centered in the world, your state of mind? You will do worldly actions. If it's centered on Christ, you will do godly actions. So where's your state of mind? I'm going to be saying that a lot. Now, we take a trip over to Sinai, and here all the people coming, and they could see Sinai as they're walking up to it. And there's fire and smoke and lightning because the presence of God is there. And it's a fearful thing. Can you imagine looking up on the mountain? You're looking at it. There it is. And all of this violent action, and it's a fearful thing. But then, some people look at of the God of creation. See, there's a difference, isn't there? One's fear, and the other one's comfort. Where are you at in your state of mind in this journey? They finally get there, and Moses, I'm trying to make this short, Moses goes up to the top of the mountain to have a discussion with God, 40 days. I'm sure there was more than just writing on the stone. I don't think God's not going to take very long to write out 10 little lines. But I think Moses and God had a discussion like Adam did in the garden, Adam and Eve and God. Hey, Moses, what can I answer for you today? What kind of questions you want to ask me? How can I help you do what I asked you to do? You know, God kind of talks to you that way. You pray about things. Oh, I'm talking to you, Jesus. It doesn't have to be a formal, holy moly, bent down and everything. I talk to God when I'm driving the car sometimes. Hey, Jesus, what am I going to say tonight? How am I going to say it? Are you going to put the right words in my mouth? And Jesus, through the echoing of words that I have read out of the Bible, gives me answers. Study the word that you're well approved. Does that make sense? Do you guys talk with God on a regular basis, like moment to moment? It's an interesting thought. Where's your state of mind? Okay, now, they see Moses go up there, and a couple of weeks go by, because he's there for 4 days, and a couple of weeks go by, and man, many of the people say, Moses is probably dead. Look at the violence up there. He's not coming down. He didn't tell him he's going to go up for 40 days. He just went up. Moses is dead. Hey, Aaron, make us a bull, excuse me. Make us a bull. We want an Egyptian god. Something visible that you can touch. It's a God that you're making. It's not a God that made you. It's a God you're making. A God you can tell what to do. Isn't that interesting? Well, that's what an idol is, because that makes you God. You think about it. So Aaron, the brother of Moses, the high priest selected by God, is the architect of that bull. And just listen to God talking to Moses. Hey, Moses, something's rotten in the camp. Every time I get this way, I think of it, and I could feel the hurt in Moses' heart when he hears your brother is making an idol. Israel is making an idol, defiling me and you. If I was Moses, I'd really be upset. I think he was. He grabs the law, goes down, and sees the anarchy, the horrible thing that they have done. Moses really upset. It was God, to be honest with you. You're there and you're looking at this, all these people. And there's two sides there. There's three. There are the people that are totally engulfed in the idol. There are those people that followed the crowd with the idol. And then there are those people, the remnant, that says, we're having nothing to do with that. My God is my God, and I got nothing to do with that. It's three types of people. Which crowd are you in? You're there. Which crowd are you in? Well, there was a message given to Moses. I'm going to make a long story short. The law gets all broke up. Moses throws it. And God told Moses, I'm going to destroy them all. All of them. I'll build you a new nation, Moses. Something quite unique happens. Let's look at Moses' state of mind. God, don't destroy them. Take me instead. Does that sound familiar? Yes. It was a trial for Moses. Where's your state of mind, Moses? And God, I can see him get excited. It's right where I want it to be. So, take care of it, Moses. Let me know when you're done. turns it over to Moses. Just like he turned it over to Moses when he said, go and talk to Pharaoh. Tell him, I am sent you. Well, I'm pretty sure it was the same command. You take care of it because I am said so. Well, let's look at Moses, and he's looking down at these people. And maybe the remnant is standing off over here somewhere because they don't want to be mixed in with this garbage that's over here. I don't know. But I'm sure those people that are the remnant still don't want nothing to do with this. And they feel maybe some fear because God and Moses were not very happy. Do you see yourself there? With an angry God standing in front of you? You know, the God that has the power to snuff you out with the nostrils, the air flowing from his nostrils. You're gone. He has that power. He made you. He put you away that fast. See, we don't think of the power of the God of creation. This world could be gone. Poof! It's over with. All of mankind, gone. But Jesus interceded, and there was a good reason. He loved you while you were yet a sinner. That's the state of mind. Jesus' state of mind, I love you. Is your state of mind, Jesus, I love you? Okay, now, Moses kind of like draws a line in the sand. That's the way I've heard it told to me before. But he says, okay, you want that idol? You get over there. And the rest of you people who want to go back to God, where you're supposed to be, get over here. 3,000. Just 3,000 out of 2.5 million people. But some of those people are brothers and sisters and children of the people on this side of the line. And Moses tells Levites, kill them all. Kill them all. No mercy here. They chose where they're at. You're watching your son, your husband, your child. A Levite just killed them because they disobeyed God. Where's your state of mind? Now, all of those people that moved to this side, of which you may be one of those, because you're not dead yet, right? At least I hope you're not. Your state of mind is nowhere now. On the other side of the great gulf between the rich man and Lazarus. Yeah, because that was sin. An unforgivable one back in the old covenant. Maybe someday I'll explain that to you. Okay. Now these people on this side, they're not all holy moly. Some of them moved over there just because the rest of you moved. Some of you moved over there because, man, I have an alternative. I can live if I go over here, because I don't know what's going to happen to those 3,000 people, but I'm feeling pretty good on this side. Again, state of mind, where's your mind thinking? And then you have those people that may have converted and completely turned their life over to the God of creation because they understand, I had an opportunity to live. God gave it to me. Moses stood in my behalf. You understand the thinking there? Where's your state of mind? Where are you at in that crowd? Okay. Well, not everybody's going to go to Canaan for a while. All right? About 2 years. They're going to stay there. In fact, Moses told them, hey, we're going to be here. He didn't tell them how long. He said, we're going to be here. God's got something for you to do. Oh. Make me an ark, Moses. It's a similitude of what I have sitting in front of me here in the third heaven. How do I know what's there? Because a friend of mine, John, was taken up there by Jesus in the period of revelation, or while revelation was being given to him to write. John, come up here. I want to show you something. And there's the glass. There's the Ark of the Testimony. John sees it. He writes it down. Now, he couldn't write a lot of stuff down because Jesus told him not to write it. But there's the Ark of the Testimony in heaven, the real one. But Moses, I want you to build one that is just like the one I got sitting in front of me. Here's how you're going to build it. And he gives them instructions on how to build it. You got a little box that's about 2 foot by 6 foot. Not quite 6 foot, about 5.5. I can't remember the numbers, but it's rectangle. It's about 2.5 feet high. And it's gold, laminated with gold. Oh, that's the gold that they took off the stinking idol, and God's going to put it to good use. That's sort of like recovering you. We're going to talk about gold in a minute. And after you get done building that box, Moses, I want you to cast a lid of solid gold. And in the casting of the lid, I want 2 cherubims to lean over the mercy seat, or the seat that is now being made. They lean over, looking down on it. I want you to do that, but it's all one casting. Not, you cast the seraphims and glue them to it. No, this is all one casting. Boy, like I said, that puppy's heavy. Gold ain't light. Put that on top of my box. Now, the seraphims, we haven't got into the tabernacle yet because it hasn't been built yet. We're going to get to that in a minute. God's going to speak to you and all of mankind. There's some words that came out of there that are written down in Exodus and Leviticus and Deuteronomy that God spoke from that box above the seat and the seraphims. Okay, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things in a few moments. But the seraphims are looking down on the lid at the very most precious thing that God had ever made. Who is that? Or what is that? It's you. And God looks through that gold, which is you. And by the way, you know what's inside of that ark? The law, which is the one we're going to be talking about, manna, and the rod of Aaron. They also have meanings too, but we're not going to get into that. There's the law. He looks through you and sees the law of which you don't fit into. Now remember that, because as we move through the series, God has an answer for that. He does. And you'll be quite astounded when you hear it. But when God looks down, he sees you before salvation. And he sees the law. And you don't make it because the law and you are not in agreement. Does that make sense? This is Old Covenant. Now, so we built the ark, and it's waiting for some place to set. And God says, I want you to build a home for my mercy seat and me. And I want you to build it a certain way. You can read this all in Exodus if you want to take the time. Exodus 25 is a good place to start. You can also see a tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was open. That's Revelation 15:5, if you want to cruise over there someday. It's interesting. Because it is brought up. Hey, John, I saw this too. Oh, look at this. I'm so excited you're here, God, and you allow me to see all of this so I can tell your people all about it. You know, a lot of people blow Revelation away. They're wrong. Absolutely wrong. Every word in that book is true. In fact, the statement about you can't change one jot or tittle, that's in Revelation. That's a pretty strong warning, people. Okay, tabernacle. Anybody have an idea what the tabernacle is? It's a gate, or not a gate, but a fence around an area. Okay, it's about 75 feet wide, about 150 feet long. It was given to me in meters, and I'm not going to give you the inches and feet. I'm just going to round it off. That's a pretty big court, but really it isn't. You know, remember, 2.5 million people, and that's the gated area. And in that area to the west is the thing called a tabernacle. And within the tabernacle, God says, you're going to build me a very special room, and that will be called the Holy of Holies. Okay, so the tabernacle, which is the smaller building that sits in this huge court area, which happens to be about 75 feet long, 15 feet wide, 50 feet high, give or take a few inches. And the tabernacle, that's the tabernacle, and the Holy of Holies, which sits on the west end of the tabernacle, is 15 by 15. Oh, you did that already, Mitch. God bless your heart. You read my mind. So there's kind of a picture of it. Wow, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. Well, there it is. And in that, which you can't read, is kind of the description that I'm reading through in my mind here, because I don't have it written down either. I just remember it. God says, well, here's how you're going to do it. I want white linen, 8 foot high, give or take a few inches, that's going to be stretched between 60 posts that surround this 150-foot by 75-foot area. That's sort of that curtain that you see. See that curtain right there? That's what it is. And those posts are made out of wood. Okay? And it's ACACIA wood. Now, you figure out how to pronounce that, because I'm not going to try. The whole thing, any wood that's in here is that wood, including the ark. Okay. So I want you to make, and it's fine linen. This is not just something like canvas. I mean, this is fine stuff. All right? So that means somebody has to put some time into, that's a lot of feet of linen. But then I have 2 million people to work on it. Okay? Kind of like the veil. Well, we're going to get there, kiddo. But that's kind of the same thing. Like it's so thick that probably nobody can tear it. No, this is thin linen. It is thick. You know, it's multi-layered, but the veil was thick. Okay? And this is kind of light stuff compared to the veil. We're going to get to the veil in a little bit. So we got this white linen going all the way around. And God says, on the east end, I want a gate made out of the frame made out of the same wood. And the white linen that you have all the way around, I want you to set on the frame of that gate. Now, the gate is, just a second, 18 feet by 8 feet high. And it'll be mounted and supported by 4 of these posts, the 60 posts, 4 of them on each side. And that white linen is going to have something embroidered into it with fine thread, which means there's going to be a lot of embroidering there because it's not thick thread. I used to watch Beverly do that with the thread and everything. I could never do that, but she used to do some beautiful things, making pillows and stuff. That was yesterday. I still have some of them laying around. Embroidered on this is something very colorful, embroidered on this gate. What color? Purple. Oh, that's a good color. What would be another color that would be good to put on there? Crimson. That's sort of a red color, isn't it? And now I got to think. What was the third color? And it repeats itself. There are some things that escape my mind and they just roll out my ear onto the ground. Just a second, I will get the colors. And when I say it, I'll feel like an idiot. You know, you may know a lot about the Bible, but then you find out you forget more than you know. And then you find out that wow, I didn't know that before. That's the mercy seat. That's the scapegoat atonement. I am so sorry. That's the book of Enoch, which is important here. Holy Holies, lampstand, showbread, court, laven, holy place, veil. You know, I wrote most of this stuff down, and I can't even find it when I'm looking for it. And that's because I don't see it in my mind that way. Gate. Oh, blue. Stupid me. Yes. Purple, blue, and crimson is on the gate. Every one of those colors represents a character of Christ. I'm just speaking ahead. I'm going to get the detail on that later. Those 3 colors will repeat themselves in a little bit. So that's the gate. There it is. Oh, it's beautiful. You got all this white around there, and then you got this gate. That's basically an image of Jesus in prophecy. And guess what? He is the door, the way, the truth, and the light. Nobody comes to the Father except by me. That's the only way to get into the court. It's the only gate. Isn't that fun? It's sort of like the door on the ark. There's only one door. God had control of that. Yeah, I preached a message on the ark. Yeah, Jesus is the door. Yes, an ark is something takes you through a period of judgment. I'm glad you rang out. I'm not going to bother with it. If it rings out again, don't pay attention. So you get into the court, you got to pass through a representation of Jesus. There's 2 million and 2.5 million people are not going to fit in that court. Think about that. You're out there, 2.5 million people, and you see this little thing being built out there, and I suppose you're scratching your head saying, I don't understand this. It's hard for me to understand this, and I know what it is, okay? But just imagine being one of those 2.5 million people watching this happen. And you're not hearing everything Moses says. Everything's by chain. He doesn't have a megaphone saying, hey, people, this is what's happening here. Well, unfortunately, you're correct. But God has put together a method of communicating, but man's involved, and he drops the ball on a regular basis. So there's a lot of people just playing in the dark. They don't know what's happening. Okay. Oh, wow. Look at all those tents all around. We're going to talk about those in a minute. But you can see the tabernacle there on the west end, and you kind of can see the gate because it's sort of a dull gray color, but it's actually this crimson blue and, purple. Yeah, thank you. It stands out pretty obvious. And there's some things you could see in the court area. There's an altar there, okay. And we're going to be talking about that altar. It's a very important altar. And look at the tabernacle. What's that coming out of the top of the tabernacle? Is that smoke? Is it on fire or something, or what? Yes. People, when you see that smoke, God's here. Because remember, as they were coming up to the Red Sea, it was smoke during the day and fire by night, and then it moved in behind Israel. It kept off Egypt. Okay? Egypt couldn't get to Israel because God stopped them. So God's busy. Now see, these people, plus you, are seeing all of this. And you would think that by watching all of this tremendous power being shown before you, you could think of, wow, there's no idol can do that. God must be real. That's what you would think. But when it came to building an idol at Sinai, it was just a remnant saying, I'm not have anything to do with that. It wasn't all the people. Most of them were involved in it. In fact, they supplied the gold because people went around, give me your gold, give me your gold, because we're going to put this on the idol. All right, think about that. Here we have a tabernacle now that we have to talk about. Now, the planks on the tabernacle are 70 centimeters wide, and I had it in inches, but I lost it. You can calculate that out. They're wide, 70 centimeters wide. They're not very wide. 8 foot high, or 15 foot high, okay? And there are 48 of them that make the tabernacle. And there's a door going into the tabernacle, okay? I don't have much on the door because I didn't read much on it. But I was interested mostly in the tabernacle itself because within the tabernacle is the Holy of Holies. So that means 3 walls of the tabernacle are walls in the Holy of Holies. These boards that it's made of are gold plated. They're made out of that funny wood, and they're covered with gold. So when you go in there, you have the brilliance of gold. And that section that's walled off is 15 by 15, because it's 15 feet wide already. And then the curtain that would be put in there is 15 feet out from the back wall. That's, it's on the inside. Maybe I should print. Maybe I got this drawing already printed out, and it's time to hand it out. Guess what I have? This is the temple. I can't give you that one. Now, this is the temple. That's Solomon's temple. There it is. Thank you very much. And while you're handing that one out, hand this one out too. That's some of the information we've already covered. And what else do I have in here? Oh, yeah, I have this one here. This is a nice one. But I'm not going to hand this out until the end. It's sort of like dessert. Okay, so now, unfortunately, people at home, you just ask me, and I will get you these papers. Please, ask me. That's one of my favorite sentences. Ask me a question, please. Ask me for something, and I'll get it for you. That's what I do. That's what I've been called to do. All right, so now we are talking about the Holy Holies, and you can see an image of it now, and you can see where that wall dividing up the tabernacle into two pieces, one 15 feet, and then you take 15 from 75, and that's the rest of it, which would be 20 cubits. I don't know how many feet that is. I could figure it out, but I didn't. Because your drawing will show you the dimensions. There it is, right there. Isn't that the drawing you have? One of them? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Oh, wow, look at that drawing. And there's that drawing. Okay, now, there's a curtain. We're going to get to your curtain now. And it is multi-layered, interlaced weaving. That means I'm weaving this, but I'm also weaving into the next layer, that's weaved into the next layer, that's weaved into the next layer. It's about 6 inches thick. Huh? Yeah, to tear it apart. Yeah, we haven't got there yet. Yeah, no human's going to rip this puppy apart. I mean, this thing is thick. It's heavy. And that sets off a barrier between man and God. God is extremely holy. Man is not quite so holy. Yeah, well, again, in the New Testament, that changed. The New Covenant changes that. But we're still in the Old Covenant here. You're stuck back here. Okay? I mean, you're surviving by faith alone. Read Hebrews chapter 9, I think it is. Okay. Is that the faith chapter, Robert? The faith chapter in Hebrews, is that 9? Huh? 11? Okay, it might be 11. Yeah, by faith, by faith, by faith, by faith. I'm not a chapter and verse guy. I just know what it says. So now, God tells Moses, you know this holy, that's where I want you to put my Ark of the Testimony. I want you to put it there. And then that curtain sits there between me and the rest of the community, because I'm holy and you're not quite there yet. But what I will allow is your high priest, which is a Levite, to come in once a year and make a sacrifice. And it's called the atonement sacrifice, which we're not getting into today, which will move forward the sin debt. Okay, we'll get into that a little bit later on. But here you can see the court, and then you have these areas where the tribes are around. And to the north side, you have Nathaniel, you have Asher, and you have Dan on the north side of this tent. And if you look at the picture there, the little squares here, but look at the tents. They go way out. That's just on the north side. On the west side, you have Ephraim and Benjamin. Again, they go way out. Lots of people here. And then we have Gad, Simeon, and Reuben on the south side. Again, way out. You figure you're on the upper level of Chicago Stadium looking at the concert. the little dot on the floor, okay? You have to think that way because that's kind of what these people are seeing. They're way out there. You know, the Levites are responsible to communicate to those people. They were like runners of the word. See, that I told you there was a system. They went out from the tabernacle to people and connected people with God by word of mouth. And the Levites were actually like a priest. They were a priestly people. They were supposed to connect with the people for God's behalf. Some of them were plugged in, some of them weren't. And then on the east side, you had Asher, Judah, and Zebulun. How do you pronounce that? Give it a shot, somebody. Zebulun? Zebulun. Thank you very much. Okay, so there's the tribes. Each one of them has its position around the tabernacle. The tabernacle sits in the middle of Israel. If Israel is a representation of the church, where's God? Well, actually, he's in his heart, but it should be the very center of the purpose of this church and the spirit of this church. It should be right smack in the center, and the world is pushed out. You getting the picture? There's no world acceptable in God's house unless they are walking towards Christ, wanting him in their heart. And that's kind of our job, to take them and lead them to Christ. Come on into the ark through the door, and I'm going to introduce you to the door of eternity. His name's Jesus. What's your state of mind? That's current. What's your state of mind now? Back here, when this tabernacle's being built, 1,400 years before Christ. You're out there, and some Levite comes up to you and tells you some miracle of God, and of course you've seen all these other miracles, and you look over and you see the smoke, and the Levite says, wow, there's God. He's right there. You want me to take a message to the priest for you? Now, I got a problem. I sinned. I'm here too, I'm with you guys. Tomer, I might be sitting next to you. Geez, I gotta sit there and tell God about something I did wrong. Well, you see this thing, it says the bronze altar. Now, there are scheduled sacrifices. Now, catch this schedule. It's extremely important. At 9 a.m. on our time, okay? I'm using our time for your convenience. There's a sacrifice made by the high priest. And there's another sacrifice exactly at 3 p.m. by the high priest. It would be a lamb or a goat. When Jesus was put on the cross, on our time frame, 9 a.m. When he died on the cross, which is between the evenings in the Old Testament, would be 3 p.m. Isn't that kind of a prophecy? Wow. I mean, God's talking to Israel, and if you're reading the Bible, he's talking to you. And he's saying, I've been talking to you all of this time, mankind, from Genesis 1 to Exodus. When I'm having my tabernacle built, I'm talking to you now with Jesus. And now I'm talking to you now with Jesus' disciples. That's you. God's in communication with mankind. But some people are out in the outer areas, in the grandstand, up at the very top row, and somebody's not delivering the message. And then maybe that messenger's walking by hundreds of people that are sitting there lollygagging around, and he could have given them the message too as he was walking by. Is that you? It was a problem then. It's a problem today. We have carnal churches because it is filled with carnal people, because they were probably righteous people in historical past, but the world moved in, and the world's ideas became their state of mind. We got to be careful about that here. I love this church because there are, 150 people, Mitch, volunteering? Close to 100. There's 150 people willing to serve God on an event serving a community that will probably be more than 3,000 people walking through that area. We have people that want to pray with them. We have people that want to talk with them and bring the Word of God to them. But we have 150 people there. Should 150 people be communicating? Hey, let me pray with you. Let me talk to you about my Jesus. I know I'm taking your kid into the bounce house, but while you're waiting out here, let me show you the love of God, because I love you because He loved me. What a message, what a time, what an opportunity. But you're treating them like they're out there in the grandstands. You see how it connects between the old and the new? Man hasn't really changed much. He's still desperately wicked. And the state of mind is worldly based. Paul says, I have an argument. My state of mind argues. That I know that I should do, I don't. And will think that I should do, I didn't do them either. His state of mind is wobbly. And he says, oh, what a wretched man I am. And if you continue to read, hey, Paul, don't worry about that. That's yesterday. Let's just put that aside because I paid for it. Now, go do my work, because if you're dragging this garbage along, you can't do my work, because you're thinking about that instead of me. That's called confession. I'll take it as far as the east is from the west, what he's telling you. You do the same thing. It doesn't exist because I paid for it. Now go do my work. The Levites were supposed to do just that. Now, the smoke. That camp is where it's at. It sat there. And then the smoke would lift and sit out there. It's time to pack up, people. God's going to take us someplace else. In the desert, of course, for 40 years. Now, think of this miracle. In the movies, you see a guy walking along in the desert, and he sees this little water hole that's probably 2.5 feet by 3 feet. That's not going to take care of 2.5 million people in a desert. A harsh land. You can go to parts of America that are covered with woods, try to find water. Unless you get it off the leaves in the morning. When I was in Vietnam, tried to find water. Well, it was either if you made it by a river, you're okay. And then there's the rainy season saying, water, go away. Because when it rains, it rains. No, you think about that. You're one of 2.5 million people out in the middle of nowhere land, and God says, we're going to move over here. How do I know? There's water there. Where's the food coming from? Now, you guys got a problem with food? How about if I give you some called manna? Now, manna, that's important. See, we haven't really done anything with the tabernacle yet. I'm talking about the people just moving around in states of mind. God is right here in the tabernacle. In the tabernacle, you can see his presence in front of you when he's leading you through, and your mind is thinking of, well, God can't provide. This is a desolate area. Where did that thought come from? It sure didn't come from God. It comes from your own state of mind called desperation. Because you're not looking into the security of God himself. Yeah, I'll moan, I groan. They moaned and groaned before they even got a couple of months out. We'd rather go back to Egypt and eat onions. Remember that? They're moan and groan, moan and groan. I listen to people in the church. You know there's a lot of moaners and groaners in here? Terry, you moan and groan? Yeah, I do. I sit there and think about it. I said, wow, I sure blew that one. That's called a conjugal thought. That's what Paul was doing. Jesus, I screwed up here. Yeah, Terry, you sure did. Now, put it aside and do my work. I forgive you. Now, he's already paid for the sin, of course, but I think the confidence of Jesus speaking through his word, Terry, I am going to forgive you, has a very, very strong value. If you're listening, if your state of mind is focused on that, just like these people. All they had to do was believe God. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. No, I'm going to worry about it. In fact, I'm going to sit there and just moan and groan and complain to you because you're just not doing the job, God. That sound familiar? You're not meeting my needs, God. Well, let's talk about that. Levites were supposed to take the word to people. They were supposed to provide for widows and stuff. Part of that tithe goes to them. It's their Social Security plan. You got food to eat because God's providing it through the people in tithe. That tithe was active then. God is taking care of you. If the Levite happens to be obedient and deliver the food like he's supposed to, an Uber driver that doesn't know the right address. I said, we got a message to deliver. The tithe that we have is Christ. He has given us the tithe to deliver to a starving, dying world. You get the message? The Levites are us in this church, God's people. They're in the tabernacle. They've been supposed to be the workers for God to go out and bring things to people that they become dynamic in Him. They begin working too. See, we're going to have 3,000 people in our presence. 3,000, that's not 2.5 million people, is it? It should be duck soup for us. Oh, I got to look and see what time it is. You know, Mitch, Overtalked again. We're going to get into, next time that we speak, we're going to begin to move into atonement. We've got the stage set for it. Now we're going to get into atonement. Wow. Atonement's a big subject. Yeah, big subject. Lord Jesus, I'd like to thank you that you have given us a great image of what we should be out of an image of what Israel should have been. I pray that we don't make that mistake. I pray that our assembly comes together like you intended the Levites to do, that we do what you intend us to do and pull together. We may have to love one another to give each other strength to do. Yeah, that means I have to go across the aisle to somebody I don't even know sometimes and say, you know, my God loved me, I love you too. What can I do to be a part of your life? Wow. You did that for me, Jesus? Yeah. But I read in your word, you want me to do that for them because I am your advocate, your representative. They see you in me because it's not me that's doing anything. You're doing it all. I just have to be obedient. Thank you, Jesus, for all that you've given us. Hallelujah. Amen.